Christopher Weston Chandler, better known as Chris Chan, was caught on tape detailing how his relationship with his mother became sexual. He first talks about how his mother, Barbara Chandler, hasn't had her spot stimulated by past boyfriends and ex-husbands, including Chris's dead father, Robert Franklin Chandler.
So yeah, she's got really sensitive G-spot because apparently I don't believe that Mr. C, any of her past boyfriends and ex-husbands, they haven't really reached and hit her G-spot dicks. They were more focused on themselves really, as opposed to focusing on her, which that's my focus.
Chris Chan claims that he let his mother, Barbara, quote-unquote, make the first move.
Well, still have Matthew Chan and Griselda then, but the incest fanfics have come true and shit. Approached her with care and caution, and it was a time approach. So I just gave her comfort and talked with her, and we just branched out slow and steady, and then I encouraged her positively, let her make the first move, and she wanted to do it, and yeah.
Chris's next statement contradicts his claim of Barbara making the first move.
I don't remember exactly. Well, that was her first move, but my approach was, I forgot exactly what terminology and approach I used, but I approached with care and caution. And I was direct and upfront with her for the most part. I don't remember exactly what she said, but I think she was partially confused at one point, but then she came around, obviously, with the more approaching that I was doing with her along the way.
A normal person can think about whether or not they want to have sex with somebody. A normal person is capable of weighing the pros and cons. But when a person is drunk, they lose the ability to do this rationality. And sometimes they aren't even fully aware of what's happening to them. What we see here, right here, is the same concept, but instead of being drunk, Barbara is mentally incapacitated by her age. Barbara's age has taken away her ability to see that incest is bad and has lost the ability to recognize the person raping her as her son, Christian. This right here is proof that Barbara is mentally incapacitated by her age. Nobody, and I mean nobody, looks like this and is in a capable mindset.
We are in need of donations for food. Please consider us. Thank you. Please buy our comic books. We need the money for a mortgage. We appreciate your help. Thank you.
Go.
Everybody out there, buy things off of eBay.
Off of Christine's eBay.
Off of Christine's eBay to help us pay our mortgage.
Please.
Thank you.
Action.
Hello, my name is Barbara Chandler. I wish to wish Nicholas Cruz happy birthday.
Hey!
Please, buy Christine Chandler's merchandise to help us pay the mortgage. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And where do we buy this stuff from? My eBay.
Buy on eBay.
Yeah, link below. Thank you. Anything else?
I'm gonna stop this right here. I'm screen recording right now for the video. This is entirely out of the script and shit. I'm watching this. This is obviously a example of however you want to put it. At the bare minimum, I would call it an example of an abuser. The abuser being Christine, as he calls himself, or Chris. I'm gonna call him Chris because I don't respect him enough to give a fuck about what he wants me to call him. Neither should you. Chris. So Chris, you can see the terror in his mother's eyes. Whether it's definitely some form of, and you can hear him in the background. Action! You can hear him in the background whining and crying and being very aggressive, especially in the beginning here. And almost the way in this very last video especially.
Nicholas Cruz, happy birthday.
Hey!
It really seems like Chris physically abuses her. Emotionally, at the least, you can tell she's so distressed trying to get it perfect. The following will feature Christian Weston Chandler's detailed explanation of him raping his own mother, Barbara Chandler. Don't go any further if you don't want to see this. Chris goes on to explain how he began by kissing his mother, even going as far as to say it was good and it felt right.
Oh yeah, I mean it was simple lip to lip kiss content, but yeah, it was actually good and it felt right.
Chris continues by mentioning that in the past he had sex dreams with his mother.
Obviously, for a long time. I mean, I remember even mentioning some time ago in one of my videos that I even had dreams where I had sex with her. Obviously,
it should be noted that the internet and Chris Chan's fans have known about these sex dreams for years. Chris then goes on to assure us that he's never going to marry his mother because they are already daughter and mother.
it was satisfactory. It took a while. It took a few tries to. And plus, also, she's very understanding about the whole thing as well. I was direct with her, still direct and honest with her. I made sure that obviously, I'm never gonna propose marriage to her at all because we're already daughter.
Now hold on, daughter? For those unaware, Chris was born a man, but now identifies as a woman. Along with that, it should be noted, Chris has a penis, and that is how this happened. According to Chris, him and his mother have been having sex every third night for the past 34 days, starting on June 27th, 2021, and today's date being July 30th, 2021.
I'm doing it every third night, and the first night being on June 27th. Yeah.
The following is a display of a nonchalant attitude surrounding Chris raping his mother. And it's disgusted me beyond words.
It took us a few nights to figure out what felt right and what didn't feel right, and she's having a good time, though. Especially what we figured out.
Chris goes on to detail their development from mother and son to quote-unquote partners. Then he goes on to claim that he's made it clear to his mother that they're in an open relationship. The sick and twisted mindset you have to be in to rape your elderly 80-year-old mother, then tell her that you guys are in an open relationship it's baffling. You're not in a relationship. You're raping.
Yeah, I haven't called her mom in quite some time now. I'm more often calling her love at this point. Between Barbara and I, it is an open relationship, and I made that very clear with her. No, it's not. Not anything extravagant, but we do, as often as possible, eat at the dinner table together. He's still trying to remember her inner child, but I'm encouraging her towards the positives, and being like, oh man, yeah, obviously, still would want somebody who was younger or close to my age, obviously. I don't know, maybe.
Chris Chan has been the target of trolls for 2 decades now. For a long time now, I and many others have debated trying to decide whether or not the trolling of Chris Chan is justified. Time and time again, Chris has terrorized the people around him. Time and time again, Chris has been arrested. Each time, he got away without consequences. Why? Because the court sees him as an innocent, mentally challenged man who doesn't know any better. The reason why this happened is because there were no consequences for actions. But who is Chris? Chris Chan is a man with a mental disability that affects his moral compass. It affects his emotions and it affects his behavior. Because of his mental retardation, he has next to no grasp on social norms. He might as well be an alien with no idea how to fit in on Earth and comply with human culture. Because of this, he's been the target of trolls. For almost 2 decades, Chris Chan is considered as the most well-documented human on this planet. Watching the first 10 episodes of this series alone will bring you up to date on most of the important parts of his life, besides one last big series of events. Christopher Weston Chandler killed his father, Robert Franklin Chandler, leaving his mother, Barbara Chandler, as a widow and susceptible to his rape. Now, Chris didn't murder his father, but his actions did indirectly lead to Robert's death. You see, after years of Chris talking about how much he hates gay men, he came out of the closet. But not as a gay man, as a woman. Chris began to dress and talk effeminate. Soon after that development, his father, Robert Franklin Chandler, had a heart attack and was rushed to the hospital. Days later, while he was still in the hospital, on September 4th, Robert celebrated his 84th birthday. While still hospitalized, on September 6th of 2011, 2 days after his birthday, Robert died of heart failure. Almost the entire troll community mourned Robert. The trolls never hated or directly targeted Robert. They loved him. But time and time again, Robert was caught in the crossfire by people trying to troll Chris. Chris, of course, pinned the blame on the trolls, when in reality, it was all his fault. The house that Chris's family lived in was absolutely filthy. It was infested with bugs, and Robert was constantly covered in bug bites. Leading up to the day that he died, he was buried with bug bites. Barbara and Robert couldn't physically clean the house, and Chris, the only able-bodied person, 20, 30 years old, he refused. He refused to do anything but the bare minimum when it came to cleaning. At any point in Chris's life, he could have quit the internet, gotten a job, and moved on with his life. But instead, he put his family through daily torture just because Chris wanted to have fun. Just because Chris didn't want to get a 9-to-5 job. Just like every other lolcow on the internet. After the passing of his father, Chris's house burned down. The fire was started because of an extension cord. This is going to be genius, right? You're going to hear this, you're going to think they're geniuses. An extension cord leading from the bathroom, out of the bathroom, into the kitchen, into a Keurig. Now, the frequent opening and closing of the bathroom door, slamming on the extension cord, broke the extension cord and caught the carpet on fire. Of course, Chris, wasn't his fault. Couldn't have been, nothing's his fault. And then he took to Twitter and he said, Keurig, your coffee maker burned down my fucking house. Anyways, it couldn't be stopped. They could not stop the fire because of the massive hoarder clutter in their house. It all just made this giant fire. One of their 2 cats didn't even make it out alive. After the fire, Chris and his mother were struggling, especially because of their legal trouble stemming from Chris's lengthy criminal history. You see, he was looking for a girlfriend in a game place, a store, basically. A store that kind of acted as a place to hang out and play Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or whatever. He made kids cry there by being very, very mean. He got banned. He came back, trespassed in a place that he was banned, and then trespassed again. And the second time, Michael Schneider had enough. He had enough of it. The owner of the store that Chris personally attacked had enough, and he followed Chris out to his car, trying to block Chris from leaving, trying to block Chris from getting away once again. And Chris ran him over. Fucking ran him over. He got charged, he got arrested, but thanks to the money that Robert left through his will to his family, for his family to live off of, and what do they spend it on? They spend it on Chris's mistake. The solution to his money problems after spending all of Robert's money on legal battles? Begging for money. On top of that, Chris refused to get a job, but it still wasn't enough. He needed more money. So, he started pawning, selling the stuff that didn't burn in the fire. Now, throughout Robert's entire life, he built and cherished his extensive and rare record collection. And Chris sold it. He sold it. That is how much they needed the money. That is how hard they were struggling. Or so we thought. Soon after Chris finished raising the money by selling his dead dad's memorabilia, it became crystal clear that the money raised was spent on video games, toys, and Legos. We have the transcripts. We have like all this proof. We can see the Legos and the toys behind him. We can see it all. We can see what he spent his money on. This is a guy who does not fucking care. He didn't care about his father. He sold his shit for Legos. He doesn't care about his mother.